I'm gonna pull you in close, gonna wrap you up tight, gonna play with the braids that you came here with tonight. I'm gonna hold your face and toast the snow that fell.
Welcome to the version 6 Gearbox guide. Start by removing these 3 screws to take off the wire harness. Then remove the 2 screws that hold on the motor. And then you can remove the motor and take all the wires away. Next step is to remove the top clip off of the gearbox. And then all you need to do is remove the 1 screw above the air nozzle. Finally, you get to separate the gearbox halves, so insert a small screwdriver into the spring guide, lift off the gearbox half, and then release the pressure on the spring. Then go about removing everything from the gearbox, starting with the upper components, and then taking out the gears. That includes the bevel gears, sector gears, spur gear, and anti-reversal latch. And then get everything a good clean down with a rag or cloth. Once everything is nice and clean, take apart the components of the upper assembly. That includes the spring guide, piston head, cylinder head, tappet plate, and air nozzle. Now grab the cylinder head and cylinder and clean those babies off. And then hit the O-ring on the cylinder head with some silicone oil and put that into the cylinder. Clean off the piston head as well. And hit that with silicone oil too. Then replace the gears in the gearbox, the spur gear, sector gear, and the bevel gear. And then place the other half of the gearbox shell on. And using your finger, spin the gears, and if they spin very little, then you'll need to take out some shims, and if they spin really loose and they shake around, then you'll need to add some shims to the gears. Now take out the gears and add some grease to the gearbox. Once everything is all greasy, put the upper components back together by hooking the air nozzle onto the tappet plate, sliding that onto the cylinder head, putting the spring in the piston, and putting that into the cylinder. Then replace the spur gear and the sector gear with shims, of course. Now to replace the upper components, you have to put the spring in that slot and then kind of hook the tappet plate onto it while pushing the cylinder head into its place. Then add the anti-reversal latch and bevel gear. And then add some grease here and there. Finally, we get to close the gearbox, so put a screwdriver in the spring guide and put it into the gearbox until it slides into its place. Then grab the other half of the gearbox shell and put it on there, and mess around with the gears, bushings, anything until you get everything to fit properly. And once you're sure everything is in its place, put on the plate that goes on top of the gearbox. Next, screw in the small screw above the air nozzle. Then grab your motor and screw that in using the 2 screws. And the last thing you need to do is put on the wire harness and trigger assembly and screw it in. And once that is on, then you are done. Be sure to check out evike.com and the Airsoft Viewer 1 on YouTube for more great videos, and thanks for watching this one.